Good morning, my friends. So the topic of today's video is going to be, do you always have to follow the rules? Is there a time when you should break the rules? And even if those rules are set down in law somehow, should your personal convictions override that law, those rules and regulations at any time? Well, I'm slowly getting my fitness back after 3 months off from riding this beast. So there's been a lot of rain recently, but thankfully it stopped this morning. We've come to this lovely bit of Dorset agricultural land to talk about the rules and breaking the rules. And is there a time when you should break the rules? And most of us would say, well, yes, there is. But then we'd say, oh, there's different categories of rules, and certain rules can be broken or bent. For example, when they conflict with your own beliefs, your own moral understanding. But then there are certain rules which are called laws, and you've got to understand when you look into it, there's not all laws are created equal. But most people don't know that. They think that a law is a law, that's the end of it. But most people, I would think, would say that if something is a law, then you're not going to break it at all. It's just, you just do it, you don't even think about it, you just fucking comply. So this is what we're going to explore. And I've got a specific example I want to talk about. Something that happened in the 3 months I've been away. So there were up to 300 people on site at any one time. School kids, teachers, maybe about 40 to 50 staff members, including myself. And there was like a canteen style kitchen. Anywhere you go, any westernized country, there's very strict guidelines for how food can be stored and prepared. You know, if you probably know this already. And I walked in on a conversation between one of the managers, and she's having a conversation with the chef, and they're talking about there's some salami, right? And it's been out of the fridge for too long. I think it maybe went out on a trip with some of the kids and it came back, and it's still sealed, okay? It's processed meat, and it's sealed in a protective environment in a factory. And it's like hermetically sealed. That's what they call it, hermetically sealed, right? So not a single microbe can possibly get into it. The chef's going, well, it's gone past the use by date. I've got to bin it really. But the only reason she's having a conversation about this with anyone is because somewhere inside of her, she knows that this food is perfectly good, and that to throw away food, it should be a goddamn crime. It should be a much more serious crime to throw away perfectly good food than it is to serve food beyond its use by date. But I walked in and I said, come on, this is fine. This is processed meat and it's sealed, right? And she kind of just looked at me like, oh, come on, don't do this to me. Because I'm sort of giving voice to her own sort of maybe subconscious misgivings about this, what she's doing. And she's like, yeah, but look, it's a €10,000 fine if I'm caught serving food out of its sell-by date. And I'm just like, whoa, okay, yeah, walk away. Now, I don't know what happened. Maybe they did serve that food. Maybe she did what I would call the right thing. Because in that situation, it's one of those situations where you think there's a rule that's threatening me with €10,000, but I know that rule is bullshit because I know that this food is right. Your senses are always going to be a better indicator of whether or not food is fresh enough to eat than a sell-by date or a use-by date, okay? The rules exist theoretically to protect people, but those rules are creating mountains of wasted food. I'm not saying it's the only reason we have mountains of wasted food, but it's definitely a component of it. And this is what I'm coming to with is there a right time to break the rules? And should your own conscience and your own discernment come into play with something like this? Should you be able to say, do you know what, fuck the rules, fuck the threat, largely a hollow threat of a 10,000 grand fine. The reason they put such a big number on it is to scare you, okay? The system operates through intimidating people with, look how much money you're going to lose if you break this rule. There's no way they could possibly enforce that rule unless they happen to do a spot check on your kitchen or whatever, you know, whatever you're doing, because this isn't just about food, this is about all kinds of different rules and regulations. And I'm not saying you should break the rules just for the sake of it. I'm saying you should break the rules when the rules are clearly fucking backwards, when they're clearly insane. Do you know what I mean? So we were closing down another camp. I went away for 2 weeks and we were closing this camp down, breaking down the tents, putting the boats away. And then the last day came, we're leaving for the last time. And there's a freezer. And there's a lot of food in this freezer, and we're thinking, shit, we just got to throw that in the bin, we've got to throw this away. And we're thinking, no, we can't do this. It's the wrong thing to do. The wrong thing to do is to just throw food away when there are people starving, there's always food going to waste. And all right, it's a tiny little thing we can do, but we're going to do it anyway. So we did the best we could. We packed it in a carrier bag, and with all these ice packs and stuff. And you know, we had everything ready, everybody, the whole team in the van, everybody ready to go. And we knew it was exactly a 1 hour drive from this centre back to the other centre. And we got all the stuff in the bag. We took it back there and we dropped it off in the kitchen. And we said, look, she doesn't appreciate trying to be told how to do her job. I get that. And I thought, we'd drop the food off in there. We gave her 2 big carrier bags full of, like, there was ice cream in there and some beef burgers and just all kinds of different things from the freezer, right? Peas. And we said, look, if you can do anything with this, please, you know, take it. And we've done what we can. We've packed it in ice. It's literally been at the freezer no more than an hour, maybe an hour and 5 minutes. And she was like, she was in the middle of serving dinner as well, right? To, I don't know, however many people. I think we had about 100 on site at that time. So it's unlikely. She's probably just going to bin the lot. Anyway, I saw her maybe the next day. I was getting some dinner or whatever. And I said, look, were you able to save any of that food? And she kind of gave me this withering look, like, telling me how to do my job again. And I'm just asking, you know, because I care about this stuff and I want to make a difference, but I see how I was coming across, like I was criticising her. And she just said, it is what it is. And just carried on. I was just like, fucking hell, all right. And, you know, it wasn't a big deal, but I thought I'd pushed her buttons. So anyway, you know, a few days later, literally a few days later, 2 or 3 days later, everyone left the camp, including her. She left as well because there's no one else to cook for. And there's basically 4 of us were left on site doing what they call demontage, putting the rest of this camp away now. And we started that process. And because there was no kitchen team, we could obviously, we had free reign of the kitchen ourselves. We could go into the kitchen and do whatever we wanted. We could wear flip-flops in there. Holy shit, breaking every rule in the book there. In fact, probably not. I probably risked a 10,000 euro fine by wearing flip-flops in the kitchen and not closed-toed shoes. But hey, there we go. And we got in there and we looked around and go, okay, what have we got left? We had to do an inventory, and we were quite excited. We were like little kids, you know. We got all this food to play with. We looked in the freezer. I saw beef burgers. I saw ice cream, and she had saved that food because she realised that the food was okay. Maybe she'd inspected it. She probably had done. She probably had inspected it, and you know, okay. So there's the use by date, and there's also the time it's been out of the freezer. Is part of it. There's actually a legal time that food is allowed to be out of a freezer before it has to be thrown away, and as far as I'm concerned, she made the right decision. She risked breaking these rules. She stared in the face of this 10,000 euro fine, which is hardly ever going to be enforced unless you're victim of a spot check. I would say if you ever were the victim of a spot check, I would stand there. I'd say, look, I'd explain the situation. This food is perfectly acceptable. Yes, it's past the use by date, but it is perfectly acceptable. You know, what's the problem? Well, I'd find some other way of not binning the food. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what it comes down to for me. The waste is a bigger crime than serving food that is past an arbitrary sell date, often an arbitrary sell date, sell by date, use by date. So that's a nice little story. The conclusion is that yes, it is okay, and sometimes it is the right thing to do to break the rules when it conflicts with your conscience and with your own discernment. Thanks for watching.